Will lead us in the pledge to the flag.
Almighty God, we have the high honor and the serious duty to manage the affairs of our beloved city. Fill us, O God, with a spirit of unity and understanding, which enables us to face our multiple problems with a serene mind, with justice and charity for all, so that any and all decisions made by us will always be for the betterment and greater happiness of all our fellow citizens. So help us God. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance, please.
Alderman O'Brien.
Present.
Alderwoman Timmons. Alderman Moran.
Here.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Here.
Alderman Govea.
I am here on Zoom. I'm away for Thanksgiving. I am in the room alone.
Alderman Lopez.
Here.
Alderman Sullivan.
Here.
Alderman Clemens.
Here.
Alderman Senate.
Here.
Alderman Jetty.
Here.
Alderman Tebow.
Here.
Alderman Clee.
Here.
Alderman Dowd.
Present.
Alderwoman Kelly. Alderman Wilshire.
Here.
13 present, 2 absent.
Thank you. Also joining us this evening is Mayor Jim Donchis and Corporation Counsel Steve Bolton. Mayor, did you wish to address the board this evening?
Yes, Madam President. First of all, consistent with the notice we sent you, the city's tax rate we expect will be set by early next week. The bills will then be sent out, and we expect them to arrive sometime before the middle of December. I want to thank Comptroller Rose Evans and the new financial person over at the school department, whose name is Crystal DeGray, for working through a problem which apparently developed at the school department concerning the accounting for some of the grant funds, which has resulted in the tax bills being sent out a few weeks later than they typically would be. The Department of Education, or this National School Department needs, and every school department needs to file a form which is called a DOE 25 with the State Department of Education, which accounts for all of the funds that, including grant funds, which were appropriated and spent by the district. The problem developed because the department, or the city, the school department, budgeted for certain grant funds and were proceeding to deliver services pursuant to those grants. And this had to do with the ESSER funds again. But all of the anticipated amounts were not received by the school department. Maybe there were some things that were disallowed, or there wasn't enough funding, so that the amount that was expended pursuant to those budget lines needed to be filled in with local dollars. The problem that developed, probably because the financial person, Dan Donovan, was probably aware of this, that this was happening, but waited and then to make the necessary adjustments, which I will describe, but then retired and left the district and left this undone, it seems. In any event, what needed to be done is there needed to be a transfer approved by the school board to approve the idea that local funds had been allocated into these budget lines, which originally were thought to be funded entirely with grant funds. But those steps were not taken. So, and that was the delay and the reason that the DOE Form 25 could not be filed. So after Ms. Evans and Ms. DeGray worked through this problem and requested that the school board meet in order to approve these various items, these various transfers that need to be done. That occurred last Thursday, and at a meeting of, I think a special meeting of the Board of Ed. And so everything was corrected, and it seems that the DOE, the Form DOE Form 25 will be filed maybe tomorrow, and the tax rate should be set shortly thereafter. The city's MS 25 is another necessary form, but that cannot be filed and approved until this DOE form is approved. So that's what happened. But again, we did have the competent work of Ms. Evans and Ms. DeGray, who were able to identify the problem and come up with a solution that could be undertaken by the school department. I wanted to mention, Madam President, something you were involved in, which is the first decision by the Affordable Housing Trust Fund to begin to allocate the $10 million of ARPA money that we, the Board of Aldermen, allocated into the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. So and I want to thank the committee for this work and for the decision. Some money is going to be allocated, it seems, to the Front Door Agency to help find housing for people who otherwise cannot get into housing because they don't have the security deposit, they don't have the initial month's rent, they don't have the cash on hand to get into housing, even though they otherwise would qualify. So the Affordable Housing Trust Fund is going to allocate some funds to the Front Door Agency, which will run this program and will help various people find housing that otherwise would not be able to would not be able to qualify because of they don't have enough funds on hand. So thank you to the committee, and Alderman Wilshire and also Alderwoman Kelly serve on that committee, as well as a number of citizens. On that same score, Ms. Bagley and Ms. Muccielli, of course, Bobby Bagley is the Public Health Director and Director of Community Services. They held a meeting last night at Elm Street to inform residents who were interested in attending regarding the use of the Elm Street Middle School cafeteria for a warming station, which was the only location that could really be identified that would work. Apparently the meeting went very well. I want to thank Ms. Bagley and Ms. Muccielli for doing that and meeting with the neighbors, and seems like all questions got answered. There will be no actual city funds involved with this because the opioid abatement funds that have been received as a result of litigation against the drug companies is being used to fund this enterprise, as it was last winter. Madam President, Saturday, of course, is the annual holiday stroll. I hope you all can attend. It is always a fantastic time. The weather, I think, is supposed to be pretty good, maybe a little chilly, but certainly better than it has been in some years. So I think everyone will have a good time, and we will have again, a very successful holiday stroll. Now, Madam President, before I conclude, we have a presentation of and I think so we have some people in the audience, a letter of gratitude and recognition of heroism and community spirit. And what we're celebrating is the fact that Tim and Melissa, and I have a letter which I will read, and I think we've got some of the people in the audience here. There was a fire, 52 Gillis Street. Of course, the fire department responded and dealt with the fire. The residents of that home were Tim and Melissa McMahon, and some of the neighbors, Madeline K. Lovering and Crystal Cayley, were in the vicinity. They entered the residence, saved the pets, saved their lives while the building was burning. And as a result, we're giving them a recognition here, which I'm going to read and ask them to come forward, whoever is here, either the McMahons or Ms. Lovering or Ms. Cayley. Who is someone here? Yes, come on up. Okay, so this is Madeline. On behalf of the City of Nashua, I am honored to recognize and express heartfelt gratitude to Madeline K. Lovering and Crystal Cayley, who could not be here tonight, right? For their extraordinary bravery and selflessness on October 31st in the Crown Hill neighborhood. And this is Tim Sennett, who's your oldest. On that day, Madeline and Crystal risked their own safety to save the beloved pets of Tim and Melissa McMahon from a house fire that had engulfed their home on Gillis Street, 52 Gillis, I believe. We have some other residents of Gillis Street here, I know. A fire tragically caused by a faulty inflatable Halloween decoration in the yard. In that moment of crisis, Madeline and Crystal showed remarkable courage, acting swiftly and without hesitation to rescue the McMahon's pets from imminent danger and very likely their deaths. Their heroic actions exemplify the spirit of our community, one where neighbors look out for one another and offer help in times of need. Their bravery and compassion have touched our entire city and serve as an inspiring reminder of the power of human kindness. Madeline and Crystal, we are all deeply grateful for your quick thinking and brave efforts. You have made an immeasurable difference to the McMahon family and have shown what it truly means to be a caring and compassionate member of the Crown Hill community and of the City of Nashua. Thank you for your selflessness and dedication. You have our highest respect and admiration. And this comes from me, and thank you for it all. Now I have another copy for Crystal. Right here, and your name is Jennifer, Melissa's daughter. So anyway, thank you to your neighbors for helping you out, and I hope your new home, which I believe you found on Marshall Street,
Yes.
Will tide you over after the fire.
Yes. We can't thank the two of you enough for coming in and saving pets, and it's just undescribable with everything else that was going on. So thank you.
We were there, so I broke your house.
All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
That was nice. Okay. Response to the remarks of the mayor, Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. As you know, with yourself, many of us on the board have gone to the benefit that is provided by the Front Door Agency, the good works that community, that organization has done, and it's good to see them stepping forward again. So they should be duly recognized, and I thought that was very good. Also, too, can I just say with the warming station, I mean, I am so proud of this city reacting and getting it done, and to Miss Bagley here in the beginning of December, before we get into January and the temperatures get really down there. I mean, it serves a need, and they should be recognized. And, Madam President, all the work that you and your committee has done shows how wholesome this city actually is. And I personally, I thank you. To the incident at the Gillis Street and everything, I was listening as a former firefighter. Yes, I'm still interested. I got the bloody scanner going on. It's actually the wife's, it's not mine, you know, but,
Sure.
but anyways, Madeline, congratulations. The fire department is looking for good people, you know, so just see me afterwards and we'll help you get a job if you so wish, you know. So thank you so much, Madam President.
Welcome. Alderman Moran.
Thank you, Madam President. To jump off my colleague at large's statements, very great timing on the time of the year of giving thanks, gratitude, and charity for the city to use a housing trust fund to support the Front Door Agency, which is a great idea. And then the work that Director Bagley and the Department of Public Health have done to improve upon their plan from last year to bring the warming station to fruition. Myself, Alderman Sennett, and Alderman Lopez were at the community meeting last night. It went very well. And I think the biggest thing to get across was that it's being funded by Big Pharma's money, not city taxpayer money, for the opiate abatement fund. And I think that eased a lot of community members who were there concerns about how the facility was going to be funded. But yes, kudos to the Department of Health, the Housing Trust Fund, and of course, also in the spirit of the holidays, giving, the people at Gillis Street who rushed into a burning building. That's an amazing sense of community. And I think Nashua should be proud for everything we just heard just now, excluding the tax rate.
Anyone else? Alderman Lopez.
Yes, I want to thank the residents who came out to participate in the meeting yesterday. I want to commend Director Bagley and her department on the work that they've been doing coordinating city services throughout this year and last year. They've really, really stepped up. They've really, really built up a lot of new important interventions, and I appreciate the mayor recognizing that. I think there's a lot of competing needs and priorities in our city, and this is an essential one. When push comes to shove, the speed at which we develop our riverfront or our Nashua Center for the Arts isn't going to have the same urgency as where am I going to sleep tonight? And you know, as a city, how are we going to tackle these issues? The neighbors were largely supportive. It was also pointed out that there are a lot of institutions and a lot of people in the city that can contribute to the success of this and other intervention projects, and that ultimately an overnight warming station is not a solution to our homeless problem. I think the solution has to be systemic change and recognition, even by this body and this administration, that the right resources need to be put in place. And I think last night's meeting in the warming station is a step in that direction. I note, as I always do when it's brought up, that the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, first we took the word affordable off before it even got off the ground. And trust fund isn't entirely accurate anymore because we had a meeting where we had to amend that as well because of the way we started with a vision and have started to deviate from that. So I think using it to support the Front Door Agency, which is doing tremendous work in rent assistance and helping people overcome barriers to housing, it acknowledges the crisis situation that we're in, but virtually every year when budget season comes around, I point out that we could be supporting the city welfare fund that does the same thing, but is heavily overdrawn. We used up the contingency fund, I think even last year, and we routinely need to budget more money into that. So I think we need to look at our overall spending policies and start reflecting the needs of Nashuans. And while I am the first to express appreciation for all of the amenities and the development projects which are chiefly in the downtown area, which I represent, I also recognize that Ward 4 and the downtown area are constantly tasked with helping address the homelessness and other issues that are associated with it. And our neighbors come out and they support, and they support all of these organizations. They found new ones when they need to. I think we need to look systemically at how we're going to address this moving forward. Thank you.
Alderman Senate?
Thank you, Madam President, and thank you, Mayor Donchis, for that recognition for Madeline and Crystal in the Crown Hill neighborhood. I know everybody was really upset to see that fire happen on Halloween of all days. The McMahons put a lot of effort every year into their Halloween display. They invite the neighborhood kids to come by and get a look at it. It's really impressive when it's lit up and dark out. And I certainly hope that this doesn't deter them from continuing that once they're back on their feet. But recognition is definitely owed to Crystal and Madeline for their efforts. It takes a special sort of someone to run into a burning building when most of us, myself included, would be running out. And not even firefighters, not even people that signed up for the task, just neighbors looking out for each other, which is, anybody who's spent time in Crown Hill knows that that's why people like living in Crown Hill so much. Is the Gillis Street neighborhood is very tight-knit, as are all the segments of Crown Hill that make up that community. And so we're really appreciative to them, and we hope the McMahons are able to get back on their feet pretty quickly. Thank you.
Alderman Tebow?
Thank you, Madam President. In a world of negativity, it's nice to see a positive story like that with Madeline and Crystal, and I applaud it, and I wish to see more, not more people running into burning buildings, but more people doing things like that for their community, because Nashua is a great community, and we have great people in here, no matter where they live in the city or who they are. I think we have a strong community, and so that was a great story, so I appreciate the mayor bringing that forward. I applaud Director Bagley and her staff as well, but and I think it's great to have the warming station and a better plan than we had last year. But to Alderman Lopez's point, we still have encampments, we still have people sleeping in places they shouldn't be sleeping, and so we got a long way to go still to solve the crisis, and these warming stations are kind of a Band-Aid to what's a bigger problem. So I hope, as long as I'm on this board, that we continue to work to help that crisis and move in an even bigger positive direction. The stroll, Mayor mentioned the stroll. It's fantastic every year. I love it. Since it came back from COVID, it's been great. So I hope to see as many of you guys and as many of the citizens as possible. It gets bigger and better every year. So please come down. And then, I'm all appreciative of not getting my tax bill yet, but I am continue to be solely disappointed in our school administration and our Board of Education to hold them accountable to the things that are going on over there when we hear ESSER funds and mistakes. And I've been probably, and maybe to my detriment, the loudest here when it comes to our school administration and the mistakes they've made over the last year, but it concerns me. And it concerns me that, I hope that the superintendent isn't making Mr. Donovan a scapegoat here and made sure that he was retired and out of the system, because that would be awful. Accountability starts at the top. And unfortunately, the mayor and ourselves here do not have, we are not in charge of the school board or the school administration. So it's, I hope someone's holding them accountable, and I hope this year it goes better. And, I guess I'll look forward to seeing my tax bill in a couple of weeks. Thank you.
All set? Okay. Recognition period.
None.
Reading minutes of previous meetings. There being no objection, I'll declare the minutes of the Board of Aldermen meeting of November 12th be accepted, placed on file, and the reading suspended. Communications requiring only procedural actions and written reports from liaisons.
Communication has been received from Sam Durfee, AICP Planning Manager, regarding referral from the Board of Aldermen on Ordinance O-24-037, amending the land use code regarding municipal changing signs.
There being no objection, I'll accept the communication and place it on file. Period for public comment relative to items expected to be acted upon this evening. We have two people signed up. Matthew Guthrow.
Matthew Guthrow, 104 Fawn Lane. I'm here to speak in opposition of ordinance 024-037. I'm not sure how this showed up on your agenda, as it was recommended for indefinite postponement back in committee. But it looks like, according to Alderman Dodd and Alderman O'Brien, the needs of the mayor outvote the votes of those on their committee. Nevertheless, this is a simple case of your predecessors setting forth ordinances for everyone to abide by, and now you want to make a special exemption for the city. Well, that's fantastic. The way you go about this is you submit this through the zoning board. You know, those individuals that the mayor handpicks and you approve here in the Board of Aldermen. You don't need to create an ordinance to circumvent the rules because the zoning board just denied their request. That's cheating. My 6-year-old knows better than that. Look at all the businesses that have to go through this process. Look at all the residents that you're going to negatively impact by this decision. They get those blinking lights flashing in front of their homes. And those businesses that have to go through this, and they have to get either approved or denied by the zoning board. Even if this is being done for the public well-being, the precedent that you're setting here is not a good one. It is, the rules are for thee, but not for me. Think about that. Thank you.
Gloria McCarthy.
Yes, good evening. Gloria McCarthy, 65 Musket Drive, Nashua. I'm here this evening to speak in opposition to Ordinance 24-037. I strongly believe that the approval of Ordinance 24-037 would undermine the integrity of our zoning regulations and set a concerning precedent. The core principle of zoning regulations is to ensure the consistency and fairness in land use, protecting the aesthetic and functional character of our neighborhoods. The city's zoning rules exist to maintain a balance between development and the interests of the residents. If this ordinance is adopted, the city, as a landowner, would be exempt from the same zoning rules that apply to all other property owners. This is inconsistent with the very spirit of zoning, where all entities, public and private, should be held to the same standards. Allowing the city to bypass the Zoning Board of Adjustment means that decisions would be made without the checks and balances of public hearings, scrutiny, and comment. Zoning changes and special exemptions are important opportunities for residents to have a say in what happens in our neighborhoods. This proposal would deprive the residents of that input and the transparency which this board has strived to achieve over the years. If the city is granted an exception from zoning laws now, it will open the door for similar exemptions in the future. This would weaken the integrity of our zoning system, which has been crafted to balance the needs of all citizens. It is essential that we uphold the longstanding principle that no entity, public or private, is above the law when it comes to land use and development. Electronic messaging signs can be highly visible and distracting. Drivers are already distracted by construction work, emergency vehicles, pedestrians, cell phones, and the like. To expect them to look for, read, and process a 5-second message while traveling our streets is just adding to that distraction. Allowing the city to install such signs without any oversight or special exemption will lead to an increase in the number of these signs throughout the city.
1 minute.
Creating visual clutter and negatively impacting the character of residential and business districts. In conclusion, I urge you to oppose and indefinitely postpone the adoption of 024-037. The city, as both a landowner and governing body, should be held to at least the same, if not higher, standards than private property owners. Allowing exemptions to zoning ordinances without input for the placement of electronic messaging signs or any reason would
30
not only
seconds.
set a dangerous precedent, but also disrupt the careful balance of our city's development practices. Thank you, and have a happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you, you too. Okay, communications requiring final approval.
Communication has been received from Mayor Jim Donchis regarding tax increment finance development program, Hoyle, Tanner and Associates, Inc.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve Amendment Number 1 of the Clock Tower Bridge Design Permitting Contract with Hoyle Tanner and Associates Incorporated to replace the bridge and fill in the void in order to proceed with the design of a river wall and paved rear alleyway in the amount of $22,968. Funding will be through Department 5-3 Professional and Technical Services, Fund 5-3 Professional and Technical Services. By roll call.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
13 yeas, 0 nays.
And that motion carries.
Communication has been received from Mayor Jim Dontress regarding multi-year contract award to Toshiba Business Solutions.
Alderman Moran.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion to accept, place on file, and approve the Toshiba 60-month lease renewal replacement of 4 copier leases for the tax office, community development, DPW, and the fire station admin office through Toshiba Business Solutions in the amount of $42,900, which is $715 monthly. Funding will be through Department 120, Technology Maintenance, Fund 54, Property Services. By roll call.
For the motion, discussion on that motion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Roll call.
Oh, I'm sorry, yes, roll call.
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes,
13 yeas, 0 nays.
and that motion carries.
Communication has been received from Donna Graham, Legislative Affairs Manager, regarding 2025 Board of Aldermen calendar of committee dates.
Alderman O'Brien.
Madam President, I'd like to make a motion to approve the 2025 Board of Aldermen calendar committee dates by roll call.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes,
13 yeas, 0 nays.
and that motion carries. Petitions,
None.
nominations, appointments, and elections.
Conservation Commission, Gloria McCarthy, reappointment, term to expire September 30th, 2027, 65 Musket Drive, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03062. Brendan Perotti, reappointment, term to expire December 31st, 2027, 14 Lodgemere Lane, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03063-1521. Zoning Board of Adjustment, Jean-Paul Boucher, reappointment, term to expire September 11th, 2027, 8 Fox Meadow Road, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03060. Joshua J. Nahili, reappointment, term to expire September 11th, 2027, 10 Roderick Circle, Nashua, New Hampshire, 03062.
There being no objection.
Objection.
Alderman Moran.
Thank you, Madam President. I was going to ask, but Alderman Kelly's not here. It didn't appear that the interviews were on the next Personnel Administrative Affairs. Was that added back in, Ms. Graham? I'm sorry, nodding your head, but I wasn't sure.
Was he added back in?
Were
I'm sorry.
the interviews set up for the next Personnel Administrative Affairs? I didn't see that these reappointments were set for interviews.
Yes.
They are set for interviews?
So reappointments do not get interviewed. The only ones that Alderwoman Kelly has said that she wanted to come back for reappointments was the planning board.
I see. Okay. So, Madam President,
Yes.
I would like to make a motion to reject Joshua Nahili as an appointment to be referred to the Administrative Affairs and Personnel Committee.
Okay,
And if I could speak to it?
sure.
Thank you, Madam President. I did speak to the mayor, just to not catch him off guard. This particular appointment, reappointment, has voted several times and taken a position that has resulted in lawsuits for the city that could have been avoidable. And in one case, this was a voting member, who, to my knowledge, legal attempted to speak with the ZBA on a particular matter and to decline to speak with the legal department. I feel this nominee is inappropriate to be placed on the ZBA, and I think the Board of Aldermen should exercise their authority and ask that the mayor bring forth a more qualified appointment.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm not going to support that motion, and the reason being is that we have the opportunity at the committee level to hold these appointments and ask these folks to come in. And I think the better, in speaking as the vice chair of that committee and also a former chair of that committee, I can tell you that it would be more appropriate, in my opinion, to have these folks come in, have them be interviewed, we can ask them specific questions, and then decide whether or not we want to move forward with their reappointment or not. We have on occasion done that in the past, and that's, as vice chair of the committee, that's something that I am going to strongly encourage.
Alderman Moran.
Thank you, Madam President. After hearing the Vice Chair's statements, I had made the motion because the Chair was not here. So I'm going to withdraw my objection. And I will say that I'll continue to do this for any person the mayor in his office puts forth that I don't feel qualifies. And I say that meaning that you can all feel they qualify, but everyone gets a vote. And I think we just heard a member of the public say something along those lines. So they're also watching us exercise our authority of due diligence.
Okay, then without objection, I'll accept the appointments by the mayor as read and refer them to the Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee. Reports of committees. There being no objection, I will declare the report of the October 29, 2024 Pennachuck Water Special Committee be accepted and placed on file. There being no objection, I'll declare the report of the November 18, 2024 Human Affairs Committee be accepted and placed on file. Confirmation of mayor's appointments.
None.
Unfinished business resolutions.
Second reading of R-24-110, authorizing the mayor to enter into a Fifth Amendment to concession agreement with Granite Diamond LLC.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for final passage of R-24-110 by roll call.
You've heard the motion. Is there discussion on that motion? Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
13 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries, and Resolution 24-110 is declared duly adopted.
Second reading of R-24-112, relative to the acceptance of $381,000 from the State of New Hampshire Department of Health and Human Services into Public Health and Community Services Grant Activity Fiscal Year 2025 ELC Community Health Worker Grant.
Alderman Lopez.
I'd like to make a motion for final passage of R24-112 by roll call.
Motion is for final passage. Discussion on that motion. Seeing none, would the clerk call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Nay.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Wiltshire.
Yes.
12 yeas, 1 nay.
That motion carries, and Resolution 24-112 is declared duly adopted. Unfinished business ordinances.
Second reading of O-24-037, amending the land use code regarding municipal changing signs.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make the motion for indefinite postponement of O24-37 by roll call.
Motion is for indefinite postponement. Discussion on that motion. Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Madam President. I was wondering if the makers of the motion could explain maybe why this comes back to here, because that was mentioned in the comments that we were doing something sneaky, and we're not doing anything sneaky by having it come to the full board, even though we agreed to have it postponed indefinitely, correct?
Correct. We vote on these.
Correct.
Whether they pass or don't pass, we vote on them.
Correct.
Attorney Bolton.
The committees make recommendations to this board. The committees cannot pass, cannot reject, cannot amend. They can only make recommendations to this board. Every single piece of legislation that is either passed or indefinitely postponed comes to the Board of Aldermen eventually. It may be tabled. If the term expires, it may expire without action. But there is nothing at all sneaky about the regular procedure of this board makes the final decision on anything.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That's exactly what I needed.
Alderman Lopez.
I would just like to point out that I brought an ordinance for indefinite postponement in our last meeting because it was the will of the committee that it be indefinitely postponed.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you. I realize when not to kick the dog when he's down or beat the dead horse or whatever. The committee decided, so be it. But the reason is I supported this was not because the mayor whispers in my ears at any particular time, and to be accused of that. When I was a deputy chief, I studied all the books, took the test, but at 3 o'clock in the morning, the books don't save you Rumsky. You got to know what you're talking about. And some people, I wonder what they're talking about. But the thing is this, it's a brand-new facility. You got trucks involved coming out to offload their trash and everything. You got people looking for the new administration building. What would have been a better idea than to put a sign up that this is the new administration building? Again, not kicking the dead horse, but it was done without any malice or anything else like that. And if the Wizards of Ward 5 alderman seems to think and push the thing, well, that's fine. And convince. I didn't make the meeting, I apologize. But in looking at it in retrospect, if I respect what the committee did with this, and I support this to indefinitely postpone it. You know, it's sad. I hope the people know where the new building that they just spent a couple $1 million on for the price of a sign. Thank you.
Alderman Moran.
Thank you, Madam President. Of course, I support this. I voted for indefinite postponement in committee. I'm not a fan of what Alderman Senate had said and a member of the public had said, the rules for ye and not for thee, whatever old English terminology. I think if we're going to put a sign up anywhere in the city, and the city needs to get a variance or whomever, they go to the right board. And I don't agree with what happens at the ZBA. Everyone knows that. But I'm not trying to steal that ability for a member of the public to go and present their grievances there, because they need a place to go if they have an issue, whether it's with a business, a neighbor, or the city itself. And I also just didn't like, and I don't think this was at all the intentions of my colleagues who sponsored this. I just felt it was, you get a denial, and then now we're trying to change the law to usurp that denial. I don't like that. It feels odd and non-transparent, and the different arguments. I mean, Alderman Jetty, I spent probably at least an hour on the phone with him the night before. He brought me through from start to finish where this legislation came from, and his representations, trust but verify, seem very accurate. And just knowing that timeline, it's not something that I would be able to support. And in making an indefinite postponement, we can't bring it back until the next term, which I think is the best thing for the city to do. Thank you.
Alderman Dowd?
Yeah, I support the indefinite postponement. It was sponsored by Alderman O'Brien and myself as Chair and Vice Chair of Infrastructure, assisting Director Sullivan, who had two reasons for bringing this forward. One was the zoning board has expressed confusion over rulings on signs, and he was trying to provide them with some additional guidance that was probably not the right way to go. And also that electronic signs are more up to date than the previous types of signs, and there were a lot of restrictions on where they could go, but the committee decided indefinite postponement. I fully support that.
Alderman Jetty?
Thank you. So, to my colleague, Alderman O'Brien, there's no question that an appropriate sign should be put in front of that.
That's not the feeling I get.
Alderman O'Brien, please.
Yes, I'll
Let him
restrain.
speak.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To repeat, an appropriate sign to identify that building, is certainly, what should be done. So I don't know why the Department of Public Works has not come up with a design of a sign which meets the current zoning regulations, which could easily identify the building. Nobody has had any trouble finding that building to this date. But what this ordinance does, and we were told at the meeting that this ordinance had nothing to do with that building. We questioned that, I questioned that, but you seem to think it does, so I think that confirms my suspicion. But what this ordinance does is the current law allows the city to put up signs, including electronic messaging signs, anywhere in the city by special exception from the Zoning Board of Adjustment. And one of the criteria for giving that special exception is that the sign is not out of character with the neighborhood. So what I'm trying to do is protect people's neighborhoods. And what this ordinance would do is it would remove the necessity for the city to go before the zoning board to get a special exception and to convince the zoning board that that this proposed sign is not out of character with the neighborhood. And what this ordinance would do is remove that requirement for a special exception and allow the city to put signs, including electronic messaging signs, anywhere in the city, including residential neighborhoods. And that's what I was against. The committee voted to indefinitely postpone it, which is the legislative equivalent of defeating it. And I encourage my fellow members here at the full board to accept the committee's recommendation and vote for indefinite postponement. Thank you.
Alderman Tebow?
Thank you, Madam President. I'm on that committee, and I was with Alderman O'Brien and Alderman Dowd on this, and I did vote for indefinite postponement because Director Sullivan had said that he was going to bring it back at some point with some changes and a different bill that kind of addressed this. But, we heard, and somebody in the audience and somebody in the Alderman chamber also said that, you don't want to, I'm not even going to try to say the biblical quote or whatever, but if you remember what they said, there's a lot of things that the city does that probably the businesses community doesn't do because we're very different entities and not everything's the same. So sometimes we will do things that other businesses don't do and vice versa. There's things we can't do because we're a city government. So, and it was brought up in the committee too that it's not good optics. And, I brought up in the committee, well, I voted against the raise because I don't think the raise was good optics, but most of us here did. So, I mean, again, those aren't the reasons to me for us to deny this particular legislation for me. That wasn't the reasons. It would be more if there was a good reason with the zoning board or the people around that area. But it, like Director Sullivan said, it was more about the city than it was that particular area, or at least he's trying to decouple it from that area because that's the big concern right now is the DPW building. But my other concern is the ZBA can't decide because they're confused a little bit on what they should be voting on. Well, that concerns me because aren't they just going to decline everything if they don't know what they're supposed to do? That's the safe bet probably is to deny everything. So that's a whole different concern. So I was supporting this at the time. I still may be supporting this. I don't know. We'll see.
Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. With making sure we're not kicking the dead horse here.
Too late now.
But my Irish is up a little bit. As chairman of the Infrastructure Committee, I would appreciate if people came up with special type of issues or something like that, and I think my vice chair can say, we had meetings, it was discussed at meetings, but nobody came down and said, geez, Mike, I would like to have a meeting about this. I'm going to inquire to Ms. Lisa Foto to see if she had a meeting on this particular thing. We had taken great strains for this, putting the buffer zone in, removing a building and everything else to make that the best we possibly can for Ward 5. But the city is not Ward 5. We got Wards 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9. So why's the special attention here? And the thing is trying to keep the matter of safety. I am still concerned that people got to go down the wrong way, and now the liability of a truck backing up or something like that, hitting the scales. It's not a place to be around with your private car, so this has got to continue to exist. So with that, I'm done. I support the indefinite postponement. I can fall on the sword on this one. Knowing for the matter of safety, I acted appropriately. Thank you.
Anyone else? Alderman Moran.
I feel the need to express to Alderman Bryan, I don't think anyone's expressing that. I think you do the best job that you can for your constituents and your point of view. I think on this one, just a few of us disagreed.
It's a cultural thing.
I can understand that.
Further discussion? Seeing
We
none, will
don't
the
forget.
clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Nay.
Alderman Clee.
Yes.
Alderman Dowd.
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes,
12 yeas, 1 nay.
that motion carries, and ordinance 2437 is declared indefinitely postponed. New business resolutions,
None.
new business ordinances.
First reading of O-24-042, amending the land use code regarding unrelated household occupancy in single-family dwellings.
Additional sponsors, Alderman Moran, Alderman Tebow, Alderman O'Brien. Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Planning and Economic Development Committee and schedule a public hearing during the Planning and Economic Development Committee meeting on Tuesday, December 17th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Aldermanic Chamber.
First reading of O-24-043, updating field fees.
Additional sponsors, Alderman O'Brien, Alderman Moran, Alderman Thibodeau, Alderman Lopez, Alderman Senate. Given its first reading, I'll assign that to the Personnel Administrative Affairs Committee and the Board of Public Works. Here's the general public comment. We have 3 speakers who have signed up. Matthew Guthrow.
Matthew Guthrow, 104 Fawn Lane. If you recall, I came before you guys in March of this year about my concerns centered around the unfortunate circumstances of a shortfall of $4.5 million in ESSER funds from the Board of Aldermen that appropriated for an elementary school building project in October of 2022, approved by the Joint School Board Building Committee. Now, Dan Donovan, I guess he's not here anymore, Chief Operating Officer for the National School District, spoke on record at the budget meeting saying that 4 people were aware of this situation back in late May or early June. Him, Mario Andre, the superintendent, Sean Smith, the Director of Plant Operations for the National School District, and the Chair of the Joint School Board Building Committee, Alderman Rick Dodd. I questioned at that time while Alderman Dodd would withhold this information from you, the Board of Aldermen, along with the public for so long. I asked you, Madam President, to open an investigation as to why this information wasn't brought before the Board of Aldermen sooner, and I asked that you would open an investigation and remove Alderman Dodd as the chair of the Joint School Board Building Committee. To my knowledge, no investigation ever took place, and Alderman Dodd remains as in his position at the chair of the Joint School Board Building Committee. Fool me once. This fall, we learned that Stello Stadium has been temporarily closed because of ignored maintenance to the building and the field, and that has been brought to the Joint School Board Building Committee attention several times, including at a meeting in January where you, Madam President, attended and suggested that this be brought to the full Board of Aldermen. Somehow, that never transpired. And one must ask, why isn't the head of the Joint School Board Building Committee, your colleague on the Board of Aldermen, sharing this information
1 minute.
with the full Board of Aldermen? Where is our transparency in the local government? Fool me twice. Instead, Alderman Dodd used this situation at a special Board of Aldermen meeting as a political pawn to ransom taxpayers, saying that if we don't pass this mayor's proposed spending cap, we won't have the money to fix Stello Stadium, fully knowing that we have the money in reserves to pay that amount 10 times over.
30 seconds.
So far, his inaction at this position has cost the taxpayers north of $6 million. We can't afford to wait for his next $1 million blunder. Therefore, I humbly request that you, in the light of these circumstances, remove Alderman Dodd from his chair at this joint school board building committee and replace him with someone who will be more transparent with you on this board and the taxpayers here in Nashua. Thank you.
Stephen Scare?
Stephen Scare, 111 East Hobart Street. Good evening. At the November 12th meeting, I discussed how Alderman Clemens' claim that raising the D-Trans awareness flag would cause suicide actually put suicide in danger. I cited a 2017 suicide prevention handbook that warned against attributing death to a single factor, saying that a law or a policy will cause suicide. I noted that the study he cited didn't refer to completed suicides, which are extremely rare even among trans-identifying youth, but self-reports of suicide attempts from online surveys. Instead of addressing the substance of my concern, Alderman Clemens, Lopez, and Moran twisted my comments to accuse me of minimizing suicide attempts. Alderman Tom Lopez said, when we're looking at studies of youth suicide, I don't think we need to be saying, it's okay, it's just thinking about it. He made that up. I said no such thing. Conflating teen self-reports and completed suicide is inaccurate and unethical. One ends a life, the other is a cry for help. These teen surveys aren't even a good predictor of which groups will die of suicide. For example, 13% of high school girls, all of them, report suicide attempts in the previous year, over twice the rate of boys, but males are 4 times as likely to die of suicide. This is important because activists and the medical industry are willing to martyr children by misusing statistics to blackmail legislators and parents. Would you rather have a living son or a dead daughter? For example, Dartmouth Health physician Simran Bal testified at the State House that, quote, rates of suicide are as high as 40% in transgender youth, end quote. This was a percentage of youth who seriously contemplated suicide, concerning but very common. The truth is bad for business. The suicide rate for this group is 0.03% according to our best numbers, and results from underlying conditions such as autism, depression, and trauma. Administering massive amounts of testosterone to troubled girls and removing their breast doesn't lower their suicide risk, according to an exhaustive review by England's health services. If you believe that any suicide is one too many, stop teaching children that they'll die at their own hands because of a law or a flag. Stop using suicide as a political weapon. Also, instead of using their comment time to misrepresent my views so they can demonstrate moral superiority by slaying a straw man, accusing me of spreading hatred and othering, and bragging about laughing at me behind my back, I encourage our aldermen to talk to me and seek some understanding. I'm right here a few yards from them. Thank you.
That's Scare.
Beth Scare, 111 East Hobart Street. We're suing the city of Nashua for rejecting our request to fly the Save Women Sports flag, the D-Trans awareness flags, and the pine tree flag on the citizen flagpole. At the first hearing for our case on Election Day, we learned that in addition to the city denying a request to fly the Palestinian flag, Assistant City Attorney Jonathan Barnes said that the city would also have denied a request to fly the Israeli flag because it is too controversial. I thought Nashua was a welcoming city. Flags from the countries all over the world have been flown on the citizen flagpole to celebrate the diverse makeup of the city. This year, the Greek flag was flown for Greek Independence Day. The flag of Ireland was flown for 2 weeks for St. Patrick's Day. The Brazilian flag was flown for Brazil's Independence Day. The Indian flag was flown for India's Independence Day. And in 2022, the Ukrainian flag was flown on the citizen flagpole after Ukraine was invaded by Russia. A year ago, Israel was invaded by Hamas, and more than 1,000 Israelis were killed, and many were raped and tortured. Hundreds were taken hostage, and many hostages have never been recovered. Israel is an ally of the United States. Israel is the Jewish homeland and a refuge for Jewish people from all over the world. How is it appropriate for Mr. Barnes to insert that the Israeli flag is too controversial to have been flown in the citizen flagpole? I am stunned and disappointed.
Remarks by members of the board. I'll start over here. Alderman O'Brien, I'll start with you.
I think we said enough, thank you.
Okay, Alderman Moran.
I would just like to wish a happy Thanksgiving to all the residents and my colleagues here. And on a
Can I ditto that? Thank you.
without objection. On a day late and a dollar short, but happy birthday to Alderman Klee.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
I just want to express my condolences to the family of Oscar Velasquez Campuzano. I know many of us are familiar with Oscar Velasquez, a member here in the community who's a very highly visible leader in a number of areas. I know what it's like to lose a parent, so I hope Oscar and his family is getting all the support. I hope the life of his father is recognized and appreciated. I know there'll be services tomorrow morning at St. Louis Church and associated at funeral home from 8 to 11. So I just want to express my condolences. I also wanted to acknowledge, I didn't want to start the meeting off with it just because it's a little bit more involved. But with the performance of Superintendent Andrade, Alderman Tebow is not alone in his concerns about it. I do think we have to recognize that that's the Board of Education's role constitutionally. So we do, I guess we can pay the bill, but we can't oversee his performance, his progress, any of that kind of stuff. But there have been a number of issues that constituents have come to me really upset about that I've had to tell them, well, you need to go to the Board of Education and address that, whether it's bus transportation schedules or the issue we had last year with $4 million being assigned to different uses. Personally, I take issue with the culture that I see often of straight finger pointing. And I know I have been told or accused of by that board of I guess, being divisive, but I saw Mr. Donovan himself say, well, if you ask the alderman for stuff, then they'll say something in private and then do something different in public. And I took issue with that, and I can only say apparently the record speaks for itself, because I did suggest that they review their budget and ask for a full funding amount, and it seems like they've been coming to us repeatedly asking for things that weren't anticipated or things that could have been more accurately communicated within their budget. We have heard a lot of public comment that we shouldn't be bonding things or we shouldn't be using ad hoc solutions for things, we should be putting it in our budget. That doesn't seem to be the policy of the Board of Education. And it's frustrating to watch because I think that leadership starts at the top. Superintendent Andrade definitely has the ear of his board. The Board of Education presumably approved his renewal contract this year, but they're struggling with things like the paraprofessionals contracts. So it's their ball to handle, I guess. And when push comes to shove, I think what I said earlier tonight about how we spend our money here in the city certainly applies to schools as much as anything else. And I think that we could see better transparency if there was, and better budgeting if we had better communication and a little bit less last minute surprise and a little bit more forewarning. And then finally, I also want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. I know it's a very important year, or time of the year for many, many families. I know the weather's also looking a little bit sketchy. So there have been a number of accidents on the highways over the last couple of days. So I would just advise everybody to drive safe, take your time, and make sure that this is a holiday that everybody can celebrate.
Alderman Sullivan.
Thank you. I was saddened to hear the passing of Chuck Gray. He was a strong young teacher here in the city. He taught two of my three kids over at Fairgrounds. He was also their basketball coach. And his life ended way too soon at the age of 49. And I mean, what a great story. Graduates from Nashua High in 93 and then stays here in the city to teach. Good role model as well. I was very sad to hear that, so my condolences to his family. And then obviously on a better note, happy Thanksgiving to everybody. And regardless of whether or not you're driving across the city or across the country, please be safe. Thanks.
Alderman Clemmons.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to wish everyone out there a very happy Thanksgiving.
Alderman Senate.
Thank you, Madam President. I also want to wish everybody throughout the city a happy Thanksgiving. I know the holidays can be a difficult time of year for a lot of people, so I hope everybody has the opportunity to spend some time and find something to be thankful for with people that they care for. I'd also like to echo the condolences to the Velasquez family. I've had the privilege of knowing Oscar since we were in high school together, which just makes me feel terrible. But Oscar's father certainly raised an impressive and ambitious young man, so we share with their sorrow and their grief. And finally, Madam President, I want to take a little bit of personal privilege tonight and congratulate my son Nolan, who we learned today was elected the vice president of his student body for his after-school program at Dr. Crisp. And he has been walking around for the past week or so with all the anxiety and tension that I'm sure all of us in this room who have run for office, which is all of us here and a couple of folks out in the chamber here. And he was very thrilled to share that news with his mother and I today. So look out, I guess he's coming. But congratulations to him and congratulations to their president, Annabelle, as well.
Alderman Tebow.
Thank you, Madam President. I don't want to leave the Franco-American flag out because that was up there at some point too, and me being that being my heritage. I wanted to say just briefly that I have full confidence in Alderman Dodd or Dowd. I think, I don't put the blame on him. You've heard me earlier. You know where I put the blame on. And I want more accountability in the school administration, and we can't do it. I hope the BOE can. And, there'll be election next year with 4 new candidates, and I hope people, or some of the same candidates, I don't know. And I hope they're ready to, take the accountability seriously because they get the biggest chunk of our money. So the way they spend it and the way the state's going to be going in the next couple of years, we need to make sure that they got the administration that can handle this. And, Mr. Donovan retired. He didn't sneak away, but, it makes me think when things were going down, what may have happened. And that's just me being conspiratorial. Also, and Alderman Sullivan mentioned it, Professor Charles Gray, he was my son's teacher currently for AP Gov. So as you can tell, that hit pretty hard at home, and we know some teachers there as well, it's taking the school and the administration at Nashua South pretty hard right now as we go into the holidays, which is no time is a good time to lose anyone, but during the holidays it hits even more. And so my condolences go out to his family and to the teachers and staff and all the students, and I know they're doing a great job with counselors, but it's a tough thing to deal with as a teen to see that happen and not being able to explain things like that during this time of year. So my heart goes out to all of them, including my son. And being this time of year, and I mention this every year, and I'll probably mention it in my newsletter. Do you guys know I get a newsletter?
Unaware.
Every week.
Can I have a copy?
You'll have to ask for it through the right to know. This is the time of year where the holidays are happy times, but they're not happy times for everyone. And we have to remember that when we're celebrating and that, no matter how we have it, there's always somebody that has it worse. And we need to make sure we're reaching out to family, we're reaching out to friends, we're reaching out to that person that we haven't seen in a while and making sure they're okay. Because it can be a very tough time for people. It gets dark, it gets cold, just be there for people, be kind. The holidays can also be times when you get together with family and you discuss things that you may not want to discuss if you're not on the same side of the political spectrum. So maybe put that aside and just try to speak about the things that you have in common and the things that make you happy to be together with these people. They're your family, they're your friends. Enjoy the time. I'm going to be at the Great Gobbler. I hope Alderman Sullivan's going to be there. I know he runs every year. He won't? Oh, man, that's a bummer.
Learned my lesson.
But I'll be there. I will not be running. My kids will run, as they always do. So happy Thanksgiving to everybody. I hope you guys have a great time and be safe. Thank you.
Alderman Clee.
Thank you, Madam President. I too would like to send out my condolences to the Gray family. It is a great loss, especially during the holidays. It's something that every holiday will come up. It's hard enough to lose someone, but when it's at a holiday, it will hit harder each time. I also want to share, there seems to be, I don't know if it's just with my phone messages, but if you call the city phone line and leave a message, for me at least, I know, I don't get an email. I don't get that message. The only thing I get is saying that it's about to expire. And then I have to manually go on. I have put it into IT, so I don't get the Cisco call. So I don't know if it's happening to all of you. If you've noticed that you have or have not gotten it, you may get something that says your phone message is about to expire, and that's how I was kind of getting it. It said my phone message is about to expire, and I would say, well, I never got that phone message. So I had to manually go on and get the message. You only have 6 days to get it. And it was, October was the message, and by that point it was kind of late. So IT has still been working on it, but they've been working on it now for quite a while. So there's some disconnectivity. I don't know if it's happening to any of the other aldermen. I just want to kind of let people know this. So most people do have my personal number, and I ask them to call that. But if you get that your message is about to expire and you haven't gotten the message, you may want to contact IT. So I do know that has happened. And I do want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And just remember that, as it's been pointed out by others, not everybody has a happy Thanksgiving. So as you're enjoying your Thanksgiving, remember there are others less fortunate. So thank you.
Alderman Dowd.
Yeah, I want to wish everybody a happy and safe Thanksgiving. Enjoy family. Also, I hope to see everybody at the stroll. It's always a great night, and people from far and away enjoy the evening. On the person that spoke in public comment, he was wrong on all aspects, not only from the name of the person he was trying to trash, but I recently reported that in the last few months, we've had 7 school projects, all of them finished on schedule and under budget. And I think that every one of them has been hugely successful, and everything that he brought up was in error and not right.
I, too, would like to offer my condolences to the Velasquez family. I've known Oscar for many, many years. And his father was quite a gentleman. He raised a very ambitious son. Also like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and a safe one. Alderman O'Brien. Oh, committee announcements. Jumping the gun. Alderman O'Brien?
Yes, on December 3rd is going to be the Infrastructure Committee. As you remembered, we canceled the one for Wednesday night. I'm sure, like I say, everybody's got a pie to make or something like that. So we're going to go for December 3rd, which is the day after my birthday, so I'll still be in the festive mood, you know, so. I'm traversing 70. I know I don't look a day over 90, but, you know, but we're doing good. So you're all welcome to attend.
Other committee announcements? Seeing none, Alderman O'Brien.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like to make a motion that the November 26th, 2024 meeting of the Board of Aldermen so be adjourned by roll call.
Motion is to adjourn. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Alderman O'Brien.
Yes.
Alderman Moran.
Yes.
Alderman Thibodeau.
Yes.
Alderman Govea.
Yes.
Alderman Lopez.
Yes.
Alderman Sullivan.
Yes.
Alderman Clemmons.
Yes.
Alderman Senate.
Yes.
Alderman Jettie.
Yes.
Alderman Tebow.
Yes.
Alderman Clee,
Yes.
Alderman Dowd,
Yes.
Alderman Wilshire.
Yes.
13 yeas, 0 nays.
That motion carries, and we are adjourned at 8:50 PM. Thank you, everyone.